So thank you all again. Great to have you here. We're going to hop right in. So our presentation today is titled Unlocking Opportunities, Winning Approaches to Your Job Search. I know we did introductions already, so we're going to move forward past that. Here's the agenda for our session today. So we're going to go over some of our Career Center resources that you all can take advantage of. We'll be talking about the purpose of YES. YES stands for Your Employment Search. And there's actually 5 aspects to the YES principle. You see them right here in the middle of the screen on our agenda. One is your career direction. Number 2 is your attitude. That's a real big one as you go through this process. Number 3 is your active job search and the aspects of being active in your job search. Your job search tools, right? So, what are your resources and what are the things that you want to make sure you have prepared as you're going through the job search? And then also employer communications. Communication is really big, not only amongst your network and the people you know, because in many instances, folks figure out and find opportunities through the folks they know, right? But
Mhm.
also as you engage with potential employers and hiring managers and committees that might be hiring, right? You got to make sure that your communication strategies are solid so that you can make one, that great first impression, and number 2, continue with that positive impression, throughout the development of that relationship, right? Then we're going to talk about building your strategy and some things that you might want to focus on as you're building your strategy. And then we'll finish up with a little bit of our contact information if you do want to follow up with us and work with us on your next steps. And then we'll open the floor for any questions that you all might have. So that's what we're thinking about going through here today with you all. That first topic area is really reviewing the Career Center resources, right? Our tagline here in the Career Center is we help students navigate their career journey. And we overall help students in 2 different, what I call cluster areas, right? You're seeing them in the middle of your screen here. One area is your career exploration and planning support, or what we call life planning support, right? The other one is career readiness and job seeking support. So on the left side of your screen, you see many of the resources that support that career exploration and life planning support. So we provide just general assistance in those areas. We provide students with career assessments and interpretations. We have multiple assessments that students can take advantage of, both formal assessments like the MBTI, the strong interest inventory, as well as the best fit career finder that students can take advantage of. But we also have in direct students to informal assessments. Those are assessments that you can do pretty quickly, right? Just to give yourself a quick idea of not only occupations and pathways for you to go into, but also some majors that might support that. So we have various assessments depending upon a student's situation. We also provide career coaching and counseling, career events and workshops. Thank you all for attending our second virtual event today for the semester. So again, excited to have you for this one. And we have an array of events happening throughout the rest of the semester, including our National Career Development Month. Great events during that month of November in honor of National Career Development Month. And then, of course, career research tools. We have our Canvas shell, which we call our RCC Career Center Online Canvas shell. We have a Eureka, which is a California career info system that students can access through our department. And then what can I do with my major resource for students that know that they want to major and have a passion in a certain subject, but they're just wondering what type of careers and opportunities are out there for them. That's where that what can I do with this major resource comes in, and many more, of course. On the right side of your screen, you're seeing career readiness and job seeking support resources. Muriel already mentioned the wonderful and excellent Career Closet. She's the founder of that spot, worked with some great folks to make that happen. So I know that that's a wonderful space that can provide students with the professional clothing they need to make that first impression and
Yes.
continue with that positive impression for employers. Anything else you want to add to the career closet, Mir? I know you mentioned it already, but anything else you want to state there?
Not at this moment. We can just keep
Okay.
going. I'm just happy that
Yeah.
I had some folks that have already been in there.
All right, wonderful,
Yes.
wonderful. It's a great spot. Yeah, don't just drop by one time, right? They
Yes.
they love to
Yes.
see you in there for
Yes.
sure, for sure.
And we
We
love
have a
taking
new
pictures. No, I
for
said we
sure,
love
for
taking
sure.
the pictures and putting them on our Instagram. So you guys check us out.
Wonderful, wonderful. And we also have a new RCC job board. It's actually our RCC district job
Yes.
board, and it's called Handshake. It's a great tool, a great resource for students. That job board is specifically for students within our college district. So for students at RCC, for students at Moreno Valley College, for students at Norco College. That's much different than having a job board like Indeed or like LinkedIn Jobs or like other job boards that anyone can look at. This job board through Handshake is specifically for our students and alumni to be able to view employment opportunities that external employers outside of the college, post to that board for you all to view. So that's an awesome and great resource that you all can access through our website as well. We also offer general employment search and assistance, as well as resources to help you do that search. And then we absolutely help out with resumes, cover letters, and any other employment prep activities and tasks that you might have as you get ready for employment opportunities, right? Both as a student and even as you're graduating and moving forward, okay? So that summarizes a lot of our resources here. Now I want to get into more of the YES principle. As I mentioned, there are 5 aspects to the YES principle, and you see them on the right there: career direction, attitude, taking part in an active job search, knowing and understanding your job search tools, and employer communication. So as we're exploring, right, the yes principle here, it's important for us to understand the purpose, right? So this principle helps you do a few things, and you see it on your left. It helps you understand your job readiness. Where are you in preparing yourself to go through that job search process, right? It's both a mental preparation as well as both a space and a goal setting readiness task that needs to be a part of this whole process. So understanding your readiness and preparation to be into this space is crucial as you begin to get in there and start to do the work. You also want to strengthen your job hunting skills. So as you go through and understand the yes principle, and we're going to go through each of those 5 principles that you see on the right, having a better understanding of yourself and your strengths and areas of improvement, having a better understanding of your resources and how to utilize them, having a good understanding of how to communicate both initially when you meet folks as well as continuing the relationship. All of these play a part in strengthening your job hunting skills. So again, we're going to go over those various aspects throughout this presentation. And then, of course, creating a step-by-step strategy. And we're going to outline what that could look like. And we're also going to pose some additional steps that you can take to begin to develop your own step-by-step strategy. So we really like this principle, and you all are going to see what we're talking about with it here. Here are those 5 principles again. We wanted to pose for each of you just some questions, and we just want you to consider these questions, just where you are in your space right now for each of these 5 principles. So when we're talking about career direction, it's good for you to think about whether you know what job or career you want. I think Muriel and I can both speak to many students coming here and telling us, I need a job, any job, right, Mary? Right? I need a job, any job. And then what we learn, right, and what we see is those same students coming back just a little while later after they did find a job and say, ooh, it wasn't that one, right? That wasn't the right fit. Or they even stayed in that job for a year and then they come back and it's like, ooh, I knew early on that wasn't the right spot for me for various reasons, for the individuals that they were working with, just because of the culture of the employment opportunity, or just because their skill sets weren't a good fit. It could have been for various reasons. That's why both Muriel and I really talk to students about what the goal is. In a perfect world, we would be thinking about what the long-term goal is. Why are you coming to school? What skills and education are you hoping to get that dream job, right? That main job that you want later on, because our hope for you would be you get into opportunities right now that continue to build your skills and knowledge to help you get that job, right? The job that you really want later down the line. We think about it as a step-by-step growth process, right? So knowing what job and career you want can really help you make good decisions even now as you're starting the job search. Attitude. great question is, are you staying positive and motivated? It's really hard to go through the job search process when you have a negative outlook, when you feel like nothing's going right, when you're feeling like, they wouldn't want me anyway, right? So, really thinking about the language and words that you use to build yourself up, right, during this process, because you really need that persistence to really be successful as you move forward and go through the job search. So, definitely that attitude piece is really important. You want to have an active job search. So that means, are you consistently applying and networking to continue to develop yourself for those opportunities? Now, I want to be careful here because it doesn't mean you're applying for everything that shows up, right? I used to call that when I was doing employer relations, like Muriel is, students and individuals want to flood the system, right, with their resume. Someone's going to pick me, right? You want to be careful with that because just having a general resume floating around there all the time, it really makes it seem like to the hiring managers that you don't know what you want, right? Going back to that first question that we saw at the beginning there. So, knowing what job and career you want can help you be focused in on the things that you want to apply for, but also can help you think about what types of activities and tasks you want to get involved in to continue to build yourself. So, just thinking about that aspect in regards to the active job search. Knowing your job search tool. So, are your resume, cover letter, and LinkedIn ready to go for this process? Is your social media ready to go for this process? Right. So, you want to make sure that you have effective resumes and cover letters that are working for you during this process, which clearly emphasizes your skill sets for a particular job. Your LinkedIn, is it showing even more of your background of skills and experiences and preferences as it relates to a job? And then even your social media, right? Because some of these employers can hop on and see you in your social media. Is that displaying the right things for you? Or is it taken away from what the opportunities that you could possibly have, depending upon what discussions you're having on the social media. So you definitely want to be careful with all of those aspects and just be knowledgeable to make sure you're creating a successful environment in which you're ready to go through that job search process. And then the employer communications. Are you confident in interviews and follow-ups? This is also networking, right? So not only interviews and follow-ups, but even before you get to that, with the networking process, are you developing appropriate relationships that could be beneficial for you later on, right? And could open up doors. That's very important. And then when you're in interviews, how are you holding yourself in those spaces? Are you describing your skills and experience with confidence, right? And then what does your follow up messaging look like? You want to make sure you're not sending an email, hey, I haven't heard from you. Can you give me an update? We probably don't want to be talking to a potential employer and a hiring manager like that. But you can follow up in a nice, courteous way. Hi, I just wanted to, hi, John. I was very excited to have the interview last week. I really enjoyed meeting you all. I wanted to follow up to see if there's any other additional information that I could provide you that showed my qualifications for this wonderful and awesome role that you have. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any other questions, because I would definitely like to bring my skills and expertise to your organization, right? So, that much better way to say, right, your excitement and to open that door and to follow up rather than that's more sort of direct, possibly a little bit more rough around the edges first statement, right? That first statement that I just said. So you want to be mindful of that communication. Now, we're going to go over each of those 5 steps of the yes principle. So the career direction, what are we talking about with that? Well, when we're talking about career direction, it really allows you to reflect on what your strengths are, what your goals are, what's important to you in a job. You really want to clarify sort of the opportunities that are right for you and the skill sets and environments that you want to employ, as well as the environments that you want to be in, so that you're not wasting your time going into the wrong roles for you, right? So there's some bubbles down here at the bottom of this slide regarding some aspects that you want to keep in mind related to this career direction principle. So you want to know your strengths, right? One of the things that can help you know your strengths is actually one of our career assessments, some of our career assessments that we have in the Career Center here. But there's also many other ways to know your strengths, right? You can sit down and actually reflect on the strengths that you have personally because you know yourselves well, right? But you can also connect with people who are close to you in your circle because get something in many instances, getting that insight from other people related to what they see are your strengths can really open your eyes to the things that you're really good at. So that could be family, could be friends, could be other connections, mentors. So really identifying what your strengths are can really help you articulate what they are to others as well. Having your clear career goals. So that's really clarifying and defining your career trajectory. Ultimately, what do you want to do? What do you want to be as it relates to a career? And then you can identify more short term jobs and opportunities, right? That can hopefully help you develop the network, can hopefully help you develop the skills and experience to help you get there, right? So defining those career goals hugely important. Understanding your job values. And with this, the job values, this really can impact the happiness that you have and the enjoyment that you have in a particular employment opportunity. For example, if you're not a extroverted individual, right, and you're not always looking to put yourself into new situations with other folks, then having a job that's really emphasized and focused on teamwork, right, in groups or even sales in which you were in front of folks quite a bit might not be the best fit for you, especially sort of at the entry level and early on in a career, right? It might not fit your values if you're more of an introverted person. Doesn't mean you can't do those things, but do you truly enjoy and are able to initiate sort of your skill sets in that area? If that's something that doesn't fit well, right, then you really want to think about the values that your employment opportunity and environment has versus what your own values are. And sometimes they don't mix. So you want to be careful with that as it relates to those job values. Researching jobs and employers. So putting time into looking into an organization can help you in a myriad of ways. One, it can help you understand their mission, their vision, their values as an organization, but you can also, figure out and create language to help market yourself to them. So there's many great things that can come from researching jobs and employers with a particular organization or institution. And then, of course, speaking with confidence about your background, right? So once you have that clarity of what you bring to the table, as well as where you're trying to go with your skill sets, the last piece of that puzzle is really to make sure that you speak to and you're able to articulate your skills with confidence when you're actually connecting with individuals, right? To open those doors within your own network. Definitely, there's a tip down below. Ask us about our formal assessments, right? So we have those career and major assessments that can really give you a good, clear picture of your own individual interests, skills, values, but also can help you connect with different occupations, right? And learn more about occupations that are out there. So it doesn't show you job opportunities, but it does help you understand what types of careers might be good for you down the line as you're going through your education. Now, the next piece is the attitude, right? You want to make sure you have a positive mindset as you go through the job search. A positive mindset equals better outcomes. That confidence really matters, right? As you present yourself to others, as well as during the tough moments, and helping you persevere, which is the first one here, perseverance. So, a good key question to ask yourself: do you keep pushing forward or stop when it gets hard? So, for those who have been through the job search, we know that it can be a slow process. It can be a process in which you experience many no's, right? Before you actually get a yes. It can be a process that can really sort of pull you down in some moments, right? So you want to make sure that you're doing what you can to help you persevere. So perseverance, what are we talking about? Well, it means showing up every day with small, consistent actions, applying to in this instance, applying to jobs, following up, rewriting your resume, even when you're tired, even when you might be discouraged. One key way to keep that perseverance and to keep that positive mindset is through your self talk. So, that second piece here. Do you encourage yourself or do you dwell in doubt, right? And now, many of us have an internal dialogue, and that dialogue for many can be either on the positive or negative side, it can be for both for many of us, right? But we want to make sure that you all are employing that positive self-talk because that can really impact your energy, that can really impact your motivation. So some examples are right here in front of us. I'm still learning and I'm proud of that is one statement. That job wasn't the right fit. Something better is coming, right? Hopeful language that helps you to persevere, right? So you want to be careful with that negative self-thought, self-talk, because it can sort of pull you down, make you feel a bit more stuck, right, in your situations, right? You want to reframe that mindset so that you can be confident and you can be resilient, right? And then managing rejection because we're going to get it. You're going to get it when you're going through the job search. Most folks get more no's than they do yeses. So, how do you work with rejection? Do you learn from it or do you let it discourage you? So just know that everyone experiences rejection in many instances throughout the job search, right? But the no's aren't personal, right? Don't think of the any no you get per your application or resume or interview. Don't think about it as anything personal. You want to think about it as a mismatch. It wasn't the right time, didn't maybe have all the right skill sets needed for that organization, in this instance, for that role, might not have been the best fit, right? So typically, rejection is good feedback for you to reflect and analyze on your next steps. What can you learn? Was your resume targeted on this opportunity? What happened during the interview? Because if your resume got you to the interview, it might have been aspects of the interview that you want to work on for the next opportunity, because that next opportunity will come up. So just keep that positive mindset. Each experience can teach you something for the next one, right? Experience can help you grow and develop. Now, that third one here, active job search, what does that look like? Well, we're talking about three aspects here: consistency and routine, networking, and that follow up and initiative. So, with the consistency and routine, are you setting your daily and weekly job search goals, right? Because again, folks can start to feel stuck in that job search process. So, having clarity on what you want to accomplish each day, each week that you're going through this can really help you feel like you're making progress, right? So, some suggestions, right? Set aside 30 to 60 minutes a day to search, do the job search, to apply, to follow up. You can even keep a job search tracker, right? Helps you stay organized, helps you, it could be an Excel sheet, right? Hey, I applied for this job and this job a couple days ago. I plan to apply for this job and this job tomorrow, right? So on and so forth. So you can track your progress and see all the effort that you're putting into it. The more structured you are, the more confident and prepared you'll feel when opportunities do come up. So that consistency and routine, again, can help you feel progress. The networking, are you using your personal, school, or online network to find leads? Many of us know, right, that the world is a who you know world, right? Who you know matters. Our network matters. Our network can open doors for us, right? So you want to make sure that you're actively engaging your network. So talk to instructors, your classmates, student workers, club advisors, right? Your peers can be a huge area of support, number one. They can also open up opportunities for you, right? A peer can have a parent who has a company that is looking for individuals, right? Or they could have a cousin that's working in this great job that they think you'd be good for. You should look into it. Things like that can really help you take the next steps, right? And search for leads during this opportunity, this job search opportunity. You want to make sure you create and update your LinkedIn profile, as well as connect with RCC alums. We have alums all over the place. LinkedIn can actually help you research and look for RCC alums to see if they're at certain organizations and companies that you're interested in. So it has really great, LinkedIn definitely has a really great tool to do that searching. And we'll talk to you at the end of this, tell you a little bit about some of our upcoming events in which we can help you navigate LinkedIn if you want to learn how to search for RCC alumni. And then the last one here for the active job search, follow up and initiative. So, really, the question here to contemplate is, are you following up after applying or interviewing? I know a lot of individuals really get bummed out because they don't hear back from organizations. They apply, then they don't hear anything, right? For a long time or never, right? So following up can really allow you again to feel like you're making progress in this job search. So a simple email can keep you top of mind for a hiring manager. And again, remember that example I had earlier, right? You want to make sure you're communicating well during those outreach moments like that through email or through phone call to let them know and mainly emphasize that you're very interested, still interested in the role, and to let them know that you're ready to provide additional information, to provide references, things of that nature, if they do want to learn more about you. To ask for feedback if you didn't get the role. So, again, we're going to get more no's than yeses from time to time. So, you want to make sure you get feedback if you can. It does show professionalism and it does show interest, right? Especially within a particular company and role that you might be interested in. And then don't assume no response means a no. As Muriel and I know, these recruiters are busy, right? We're all busy, right? So, in those instances, it might be just as taking a little longer than usual to get to the interview process. It might take a little longer than usual for them to get through all the resumes, so on and so forth. So that follow-up can really help make a difference, especially when they're real busy and then you're still outreaching to let them know, hey, I'm here. Hey, I'm ready to answer any additional questions. Let me know what you need from me, right? So you want that job search to be active. Now, here's a list of some of your job search tools, things that can really help open the door to opportunities as you go through the job search process. So, making that first impression, I know I've mentioned it a couple times, but it's hugely important. That first impression on employers. You want your materials to be clear, targeted, professional, and easy to understand, right? If folks, especially hiring managers, recruiters, if they're looking through your documents and they're not getting they don't have clarity on what your goals are, they don't have clarity on what your skills and abilities are, then many of them won't provide a lot more time to review your document. So you want to make sure that it's hitting all those markers: clear, targeted, professional, easy to understand. For your resume, here's some tidbits here for it. You want to make sure it's tailored to each job you're applying to. I know so many people who make a standard resume and they send it out to any and all type of roles just to see what sticks, right? That's not the method that we encourage. That method actually, we hear from a lot of students that it allows you to feel stuck because in those instances, and hiring managers know when folks are just sending out basic resumes like that aren't targeted to them, that they start to think you're not really serious about being with their organization, and they know individuals are just putting their applications out everywhere. They can tell what a basic resume looks like. So you want to make sure that your resume is tailored to the opportunity as much as possible. You want to use strong action verbs. You want to quantify any results you have. For example, we at the Career Center provide over 18 events per semester, typically serving hundreds, if not sometimes over 1,000 or more students each term. So we want to make sure that you quantify your work so that an individual looking at your document can see the results of your efforts, right? And you also want to make sure ATS, your resume is ATS friendly. Really, the emphasis there is being focused in on keywords from that job description and using those keywords in your own resume, right? So it's hitting and seeing those matches there. Not everybody does a cover letter. However, cover letters can really set folks apart, even if they're not required in your application materials for a position. So a cover letter is more of a narrative where you can tell your story, why you're applying, why this company you're interested in, and why you're a great fit. So don't just duplicate your resume in this process. You want to make sure you add context. You add a little bit more of your story in a cover letter and not just more of the bullet pointed format of your resume. So it's meant to support the information that an individual will get from your resume. Again, more of a narrative type document to do that. Also, portfolios can be useful, especially for our folks who are in the creative or tech or project-based fields. Portfolios can include some examples of your writing, examples of your designs, examples of project summaries and photos and videos, especially if you're in sort of the film, television production programs here. So portfolios can help show your skill set and the results of some of your work and projects, which is in many instances can open the doors for you. So portfolios are great for those types of roles. There are online portfolio tools like Google Sites, like Wix, like Behance. All of those can help you develop your own portfolios, and they also can be viewed and shared, right, with potential employers and others. And then this one's key right here, right? Because we're a social species, right? Your references. I've spoken to quite a few students, especially recently, about how to get references, right? Well, references are really about what relationships you've developed thus far, right? When you're talking about a reference, those are the people who can speak to your work ethic, your skills, your character. And those are usually individuals that are not your family members. So you want to, at any given time, you want to make sure you have at least 3 or 4 folks who you can lean on that are not your family members who can speak to your work ethic, your skills, and your character. That also means that you are displaying so if all of those things, right, a high level of character, you're displaying and sharing your skills with others so that they can clearly speak to that with others. So it really emphasizes the work that an individual must do within their network to make those appropriate connections so they can lean on people to be their references, right, when they look for employment opportunities. Even before you put anyone's name down for a reference, you always want to ask permission first. Let them know what your role is and why you're applying, right? So you want to give them the needed information so they can appropriately speak to your skill sets. And then you want to keep their contact info and job titles up to date. So you want to make sure that you have the appropriate information. The last thing you want to do is share the contact information for one of your references and it's an old number, right? Or they don't use that email anymore, right? Or their title is not accurate, just because that reference that you had may have changed jobs. So you want to make sure you're keeping in contact and keep an update with some of these references so that you make sure that you're putting the appropriate information down when references are asked of you. Okay. Um, See the tip down below so you can visit the Career Center or you can schedule an appointment or come to one of our virtual sessions, our virtual drop-in sessions, and we can talk to you about resume, cover letter, development and review, or any of the other aspects that you see here. Okay. Now, the fifth area, employer communication. So communication is really key, again, because we're a social species. It's key in first impressions. It's in key in continuing to develop relationships, right? And continuing to keep your network strong. So one aspect in this job search process is keeping your resume up to date. Um, First impressions can be your handshake, an email, an interview, a LinkedIn message. All of those can count. So when you think about all of those types of ways to communicate, you want to make sure that you have professionalism. You want to make sure you have an air of confidence, right? Not too confident now. You want to be careful with that, but you want to make sure that you're confident in what you bring to the table. And then, of course, that respect for other individuals. Now, some 3 areas, right, under the employer communications aspect here is interviews, networking connections, and professional language and attire. So as you prepare for interviews, right, you want to think about some of the common questions that you might get as it relates to the role that you're applying to. But even beyond the role that you're applying to, some of the statements that we have here, the question of the statement of tell us about yourself or tell me about yourself, or what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Those are some of the typical questions that individuals get in an interview. So in most instances, both Miriam and I talk to students about making sure that they practice their responses so that they're prepared and not surprised when these comes up. Because usually in those surprise instances, your mind could go blank. You could just start rattling off and say things that you don't mean and all that kind of stuff, which is what you don't want to do in an interview. So that preparation when we're talking about interviews is key. Practicing how you speak about your past experiences with confidence, that can help you practice for those situations. And then also there are some techniques you can employ in interviews, which is one example is the STAR method. The STAR method stands for situation for the S, the T stands for task, the A stands for action, and the R stands for result. So STAR method can be used when a hiring manager or the interviewer ask any question that's behavioral. A behavioral question is an example of a behavioral question is saying or asking something like, give us an example or tell us about an example of a time when you work within a team and you struggled to connect with your teammates. How did you work through that situation? So in that instance, you would give them the situation, the task, the action that you utilize, and the result of your action. That'd be a way to speak through your answer to that behavioral question. So that's what the STAR method pertains to. Networking connection. So, are you ready to introduce yourself to potential employers? It says in 30 seconds. So, that's specifically talking about an elevator pitch. Can you speak to your interests, your goals, and your skills in a short amount of time, as well as within casual settings like networking settings, right? And even the folks that you already know, are you able to describe that and speak to that? That's hugely important because, again, opportunities can come from your network. So you want to be able to speak to your interests, goals, and skills in those settings. Here's an example here that we put on the screen. Hi, I'm a business major at RCC, interested in marketing and management. I've helped lead a campus club and I'm looking for internship opportunities this summer. And of course, you would add more to that, but that could be the starting point, right, to launch into a conversation about your interests and your major in marketing and management, in opportunity, so on and so forth, right? So it helps you lead into conversation with others. And then professional language and attire. Are your emails, interviews, and LinkedIn messages professional and respectful, right? It's both what you say and how you say it. So you want to be mindful of that. Are you dressing appropriately for for that industry, especially in the situations in which you are representing yourself for an employment opportunity? So interviews, career fairs are examples of that. And do you know how to follow up with a thank you email or message? So, especially after you get an interview or after you meet folks, or even after you connect with folks in person, connect with folks in person, or you connect with folks on LinkedIn, it's always good to follow up, saying thank you, pleasure to meet you, I hope to connect again. All those types of things continue to leave that positive impression with folks, right? So when they think of you, they think, great, this person was engaging. They're able to articulate their interests and skills and where they're going in life. All these are positive things that leave a positive impression in folks' mind. When you're sending messages, written messages especially, you want to make sure you proofread them. So emails, messages on LinkedIn, any types of things like that, you want to make sure you proofread before you push that send button. Okay. Now, we were talking a little bit about building your strategy. So we do want to give you some ideas and suggestions on that. And we want this to be a little bit active, right? So right here, you're seeing some sample strategies on the screen for each of those 5 areas: the career direction, the attitude, the active job search, the job search tools, and the fifth one, employer communication. So these are some strategies and some ideas for you to consider for each of these. So for your career direction, we talked about many aspects within that. One thing that you could think about doing is taking a career assessment through the Career Center and reviewing it through an interpretation with a counselor, right? That can help you come up with your strengths, right? And areas that you're really good at, can help you come up with and identify the areas where you would like to improve, right? Because that's in many instances a question that you get from in interviews and hiring managers as well. Going through that with a counselor, that interpretation can help you really think about and reflect on the information that you get back from the assessment. So that could be one step that individuals take for that career direction area there, the first area. The second area, attitude, you could drop in, you could join a drop-in session with either a counselor or with us in the Career Center here, just for a little bit of motivation and feedback, right? Providing either your counselor, your ed advisor, or any one of us just an update on how you're doing, and give yourself a pep up, pep talk, and all that kind of stuff, right? Um, it's also good for friends, family, right? And those close relationships for them to do that too, to urge you on. So it doesn't necessarily have to be with us. You want to definitely make sure, though, that you're within an environment and within a circle that helps promote, right, the amazingness we know that you all are. An active job search. So what can you do there? Well, you could apply for 4 jobs and follow up with 2 this week, right? Yeah, so thinking about your own capacity, because I know everybody's busy, right? So you want to make sure you're defining goals that are appropriate given all the things that you all have to do. School, some of you, might have a part-time job and looking for another one right now. You might have to care for your own family, whether it be parents or your own kids, right? There's a lot of to-do things to do on our to-do list. So you want to be sure to keep in mind what capacity you have. So it might not be applying for 4 jobs, might be applying for 1, might be applying for 2, and following up with those in the next week. So be mindful of the goals that you set related to your own capacity. Job search tool. So I'll revise my resume and tailor it to 2 job openings. So, that might be just spending some good solid writing time to update and revise your resume, trying to make it even more effective and using it to apply for the jobs that you said you'd apply for this week or in the next couple days or so, right? And then another strategy for the last one, employer communication. I'll practice my elevator pitch with a friend. That elevator pitch is a statement that pretty much in a nutshell, in 30 seconds, says who you are, what you do, and how you do it, and how you make an impact, right? So making a statement like that, really learning it and memorizing it and using that, especially when you're meeting folks sort of in the work realm, right? And folks that you want to connect with, to start a conversation, having that elevator pitch can help you get things going in those situations, right? So these are some things that you all can consider when you're thinking about your own strategy. Now that I went through all of it, we would love to see y'all put something in the chat, right? So for those of you who are interested in going through the job search, right? Do any of these sample strategies look like something that you would want to do? If so, put that in the chat. Let us know what you're thinking about right there, just so we can see what you all are thinking and all that good stuff, and it can also spur some conversation here towards the end of our session in which we finish up. Okay, so yeah, feel free, don't be shy, put some things in the chat there, and we can read those out once we finish up here. Okay. Now, as we're finishing up, we want to share our Career Center contact info. So you're seeing it on your screen here. We're located in the Dr. Charles A. Kane building, room 101. So feel free to visit us. Definitely do know that we have many mediums to connect with us. It can be in person through the Kane building. It can be through our email, which is the last one there, the Career Center at rcc.edu. And it could even be looking at our website, reviewing the various resources that we have on that webpage. So many ways to connect with us. On our webpage, you can also see our schedule for virtual drop-ins, and you also see our link to schedule an appointment with us. So just want to let you all know about that. And now, hey, so we want to open the floor for questions for Muriel and I, given the things that we chatted about today.